Tessie, it's amazing. Hi, I'm Euan. I've got a few things to say about them as well. I'll be reading the empty cards here. Sort of making a funny sound, but anyway. I remember Mum from the earliest of beginnings. This is, of course, no surprise as Mum created me. A simple matter of science. But this was some very fine work indeed. So thanks, Mum. Looking back, I remember back in Wellington, where we were born, and in Napier during our early years, Mum was a dedicated mother. Mum was not just a mother, but an English and phys ed secondary school teacher. I still remember, as a preschooler, going to a PE class Mum was taking at Cleanslow College and being given some juicy fruit chewing gum pulled by some of the students. Mum was aware of this, so I chewed away happily. For a long time I thought this was normal behaviour at school. Sadly, I was mistaken. This was typical Mum. A hardly conventional approach to things, life, the universe and everything. What others may find unusual or strange was not to Mum. She did things her ways. Always. I remember Mum being involved in lots of things growing up, from helping out at play centre. She stayed involved for years after we left, to various school and social outings, camps, birthday barbecues along the Esk River, the various holiday programs, the performance of Samson and Delilah spring to mind, endless trips to the Unikawa Olympic swimming pool for swimming practices, and our school life at Tamatea Primary and Intermediate. Mum was an all-there, all-knowing presence. Mum was also important. She'd met the Queen with photos to prove it, and I think you've seen them today, as the Queen's Wellington guide back during the 1954 royal visit. Her photo with QE2 is one of my favourites. Mum loved the royals. Mum was big on school in those early years and very supportive of us. Like all mums, we kids could do no wrong, even when we did. I remember her starting a club making puppets at Tamatea Primary because I was at a loose end and could join. That was kind of cool. Mum, I would best describe as quirky, with a wide circle of friends, a social butterfly and a keen talker. She was always on the phone, hard to get away from when she was talking to you. This love affair with the phone lasted for the rest of her life. She was not at all keen on new technologies. Early on, Mum acquired a vast treasure trove of stuff that invaded the house. Our spare bedroom was really a library of books on shelves. This interest only increased from epidemic to pandemic proportions when we moved to Auckland, from Cockle Bay and on to Meadowbank. The cars were banished from the garage to make way for more worthy visitors, or squatters, the books. As early as I can remember, she always had a house full of stuff. Mum, as we all know, was a great collector, especially books of authors I still know little about. But these captured Mum's imagination, and with her friends, or book friends, she carved out a career surrounded by books. And there was other stuff as well, the Nicky Nacky News, that lived in a linen cupboard to come out at Christmas time as gifts for some lucky recipient, or on display in cabinets all over the house or on the shelves. A magical stash of interesting things that grew in number from day to day. Mum was also a seasoned traveller. She visited overseas, included repeat and extended stays in Europe, visiting our Uncle David, and throughout the UK, following the footsteps of kings, queens, and Abigail adventures. She also attended many various school conferences across New Zealand and Australia, often related to her school transition to work teachings. Her transition to work teaching was based at Edgewater College through the 1980s and 90s. For this teaching, she received vast accolades. During school, and many school holidays in my teenage years, I would get part-time work or be given placements by Mum. There was no choice from her various work contacts. This basically paid my personal expenses through high school and university, and some late night parties and nights out as well. So thanks again, Mum. I'd come to dread these working holidays, as I'd become a paver, menswear sale assistant, work in the freezers at Tip Top, assemble briefcases in factories, and on it went. What I do know is Mum helped hundreds of local kids who were finding it tough at school find work and full-time jobs. Mum was very highly thought of in the transition to work teaching world. This is one of her finest legacies. Mum left Edgewater College during the late 1990s, but continued teaching for many years, relieving around Auckland until she retired. I also remember Mum being one of the worst and scariest drivers I've ever had the misfortune of witnessing far too many times. In my teenage years, she would bootle about in Granddad's hand-me-down Datsun 1200, terrorising other road users. I still have school friends who are somewhat traumatised, hanging on to anything they could as she would sail down Granger Road towards Howick Beach at the near speed of light, and somehow turn up Selwyn Road toward Howick Village without ending up in the water. Mum, of course, was unaware of any dangerous activity. This was just the way she saw things. No problem here. The driving thing did not improve in later years. Traffic islands were for running over and getting stuck on. And she was often seen down Rodney Street, driving on a footpath to get where she needed to go, usually visiting friends or on the way to school fairs. Mum's driving schools were no different within Walker. Crashes were common. This was Mum. If there was a book fair, school gala, or church fete, Mum was there with knobs on, buying the cakes, books, buying more cakes, more books, and nicky-nacky news for those who needed them. She supported Dad at church and is singing Bach Musica. She was on the front of house. She was vigorously independent, building up her book and Abbey Girl empire, where she reigned supreme, even becoming a Mānuka queen among the Abbey Girl elite. Life for Mum had a surreal element you either totally got or you never would. Almost a fantasy land. Mum just did her own thing. In her last years at Highlands after Dad's death, these were a trial. Having to relocate and downsize was hard for her. It meant letting go of a vast stash of books and stuff accumulated over years. And that was hard. And she did let everyone know this. I don't think that repeat a little bit of what Fiona said. I don't think that stopped Mum's drawing ability. There may be still a swag of her treasures stored with friends in friends' places across Auckland and beyond. So here's an amnesty of sorts. If you do have some of Mum's stuff stored in your basement, please let Fiona know. We can help sort that out. Just let us know. Mum's very resourceful, and I know there may be stuff somewhere out there in the Twilight Zone. At this point, I really want to thank Mum's Trinity family, who have really looked out for her. The relationship goes back nearly 40 years, so thank you. Her wide circle of friends, old and new, our extended family and in rest the Highland support staff, and those attending to her Middlemore hospital visits. We know she was wobbly on her feet, since she was accidentally knocked off her feet by a student charging around a corner at school, and though a diabetic, was still too partial to the sweet things in life. But her brain was super smart, super sharp, a super fast reader, a super duper cryptic puzzle solver. Super impressive, right up to the end. She had lots of visitors and supporters at Highlands, and was much liked there. She was much loved by the grandkids, who have quite a collection of nicky-nacky news that will remain with us. If Mum portrayed anything different, it's because she wanted to. She always wanted people around her, which is fair enough, and always keen to remind us all of her latest ailments. Mum had been like that for a long time. So how does this all end? For me, it's Mum and the nicky-nacky news. This is one of Sam's. These are everywhere in our house. She is on the walls, on the shelves, by the fireplace, in the Hummel mugs by the front door, or the Hummel mugs by the front door. I've found another stash of these guys in a cardboard box in her apartment, and I'm quite pleased to see them. In the cupboards, and the unopened Seekers CD collection. She loved the Seekers but seldom played them. In her colourful dresses. I will remember every time I eat a cake, her strong yet difficult to understand political views. She had on just about everything. Her love for her grandkids, with more nicky news, that filled Sam and Frankie's bedroom. These memories will be kept forever. Mum kept lots of memories. Her school reports, letters, correspondences, lots of things. We will keep these safe. Finally, Mum, we share the love of Thunderbirds, the 1960s John Steed and Emma Peel Avengers, Agatha Christie's Miss Marple, especially the ever pedantic and annoying Hercule Poirot. Ah, the little grey cells. Upstairs, downstairs, any costume drama really, and a genuine love for French toast and chocolate. Even Gilbert and Sullivan get a mention here. Mum, you are so independent, so determined, so quirky, at times difficult, so unique, always loving, a one of a kind, and I know we'll never find another you. On the night she died, I felt a strong sense of peace. Your time had come, and you were okay with it. Sadly, it is what it is. It is a life well lived. All those annoying ailments are over with now. So thank you, Mum, for being Mum. So eternal rest granted to her, O Lord, and may perpetual light shine upon her. May she always rest in peace. Amen.